Shalom. I would like to give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. I would like to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all you sincere Akim, pushing this word out across the four corners of the world. Just another news update through the spirit, the power, and the vibration of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. I have an article from naturalnews.com, and the title says, North Korean leaders promise to annihilate the U.S. by end of century. And this article was published on August the 6th, 2023. And it says, Communist North Korea's foreign ministry vowed that his nation would annihilate the U.S. through military power by the end of the 21st century. Should the U.S. choose to offend our republic, we will annihilate them by using all our military power that we have gathered so far, said the North Korean foreign ministry diplomats in a statement released celebrating the armistice signed on July the 27th, 1953. The Korean War in the last century marked the beginning of the downfall of the U.S., the foreign ministry added. Now, the 21st century would see the irrevocable termination of the U.S. The rulers of the U.S. are well advised to forget on no account the lessons of history. And as you can see, the spirit of warfare is in the air. As it says in Jeremiah 28:8, how the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence. And Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai are utilizing these different kings of the earth to broadcast that spirit of warfare. Because all of this is leading to the final war, which is World War III. And on my last news update, I was bringing out about the international monetary system is on the verge of an engineered collapse. And that's due to the left-hand elites, these international bankers. And that's because this current monetary paradigm, which is like a 50-plus-year-old system, is about to be thrown out the window, and it's about to be transitioned or reset to a digital currency paradigm. And also within that article, that guy by the name of James Rickards, and he's like a financial expert, and he stated how World War III will usher in the left-hand NWO. So again, this is the will of Yahweh Bashim Shai, moving the chess pieces on the board, hence working on the minds of these different global leaders, and to be in that spirit of World War III. And that takes me to Proverbs 21 verse 1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. And the ultimate will of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is fulfilling their words, via biblical prophecies. As it says in the book of Isaiah 46:10, my counsel shall stand. So the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. And a very major part of that will is ultimately annihilating America, known as Babylon the Great, according to the Holy Scriptures. And let's get right quick. Ecclesiastes 3:1. And as you can see from the heading, a time for everything. So it says, to everything there's a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Verse 2, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which he planted. So the Lord planted America to be that bitter oppression for the biblical Israelites, and also set to be that main example for nations in the future to not mimic or imitate after. So therefore, we are definitely within the stages that Yahweh Bashim Shai is about to pluck up which he planted. And let's get the point in verse 8. A time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. And if you are in the spirit, as you can see within current events, the manifold chaos that's disrupted throughout the whole world should definitely indicate to you through the spirit that we are definitely not in the time of peace, but much more so a time of war, where you are having in today's time class wars, social wars, race wars, currency wars, and it's about to be upgraded to that World War III. As it says in Revelation 11 chapter, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe coming quickly. All right, so back to the article. The statement was made during a meeting celebrating the 70th anniversary of the Korean War armistice, signed between the North, the United Nations, and Communist China. South Korea to this day has not acknowledged the armistice. This armistice permitted the creation of the UN-arranged demilitarized zone between North and South Korea and the exchange of prisoners of war. Since the signing of this armistice, U.S. troops have been stationed in South Korea to help prevent another war and to help Seoul defend itself in case of another North-led invasion. And this paragraph alone links up with Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, in the 5th verse, how it goes into how he, referring to Esau, Edom, and more so the nobility of them, is a proud man, neither keep it at home. And where you have America wants to worldwide police these other nations, but not taking care of things at home. So Yahweh Bashim Awashah are working through the minds of these different global leaders, and they are getting very fed up with America, and rightfully so. And it says, during the celebration of the 70th anniversary of the armistice, North Korean Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un met with senior Chinese officials to reaffirm their close military ties. And just months ago, Kim Jong-un called for an exponential increase of new arsenal and how he wanted to go nuke for nuke with America. And it says North Korea holds rallies against U.S. imperialism and vow to annihilate the enemy. And once you go into the word imperialism, it goes into a policy of extending a country's power and influence via diplomacy and also economic and military force, which again goes into the prophecy within Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, because America has spoiled many nations. So it says, around a month before this recent threat from North Korea, the totalitarian communist nation held a rally marking the day of struggle against U.S. imperialism, during which government leaders also promised to annihilate the enemy. The day of struggle against U.S. imperialism marks the 73rd anniversary of the start of the Korean War on June 25, 1950, when North Korean communist forces began their invasion of the democratic South. Rallies were held in each province of the small nation, while an extensive list of government leaders spoke about denouncing the U.S. and its allies as imperialist beasts. And that's a heavy statement that these North Korean diplomats stated about America and their so-called counterparts, deemed as imperialist beasts, because once you go into the word beast, it goes into a brute, a savage, and it also goes into a person who behaves in a violent, unpleasant, or uncivilized manner. And that's definitely the standard of Esau Edom, the man of sin, and how his ways through America, known as Babylon the Great, has morally corrupted these other nations, especially America's allies, which is why it's stated within Revelation 17:2, whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, which goes into that spiritual adultery, the westernization, the science, the technology, Esau's democracy, really just by accepting the image of the beast. That's by drinking that Babylonian wine, which had made all nations drunk of the wine of her fornication. And it says, in one gathering at the Mayday Stadium in the capital of Pyongyang, between 100,000 to 120,000 people attended, although their attendance was more than likely to be mandatory. The entire continental U.S. is within our range, said one sign showed by the KCNA during its broadcast of the rally. So what do these North Korean leaders mean by the entire continental U.S. is within our range? And let's answer that with Jeremiah 50:13. Because of the wrath of the Lord Yahweh, it should not be inhabited, but it should be wholly desolate. And that's referring to the whole landmass of the so-called United States of America. It's going to be reduced to non-existence. Everyone that go about Babylon should be astonished and hiss at all her plagues. So what type of component in today's time that can do so much devastation to a whole landmass of a country? And let's get Isaiah 13:4. The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. And that tumultuous noise is going into when World War III happens over there in the Middle East. And that main warfare is going to be by nuclear warfare. That's why it says in Isaiah 54:16, how the Lord created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, which goes into his purpose. Remember, in Isaiah 46:10, his counsel should stand. So therefore, that's that component in today's time can do that much devastation. Because within, again, Isaiah 54:16, it goes into how the Lord created the waster to destroy, which is going to lay America utterly empty. So the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, referring to those nuclear missiles, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together, the Lord of hosts mustered the host of the battle. And that battle is going into that final battle, which is Armageddon, the mountain of troops. Verse 5, they come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua and the weapons of his indignation, to destroy the whole land. And that's by the means of intercontinental ballistic missiles. And once you look up the word intercontinental, it goes into relating to or traveling between continents. And that's exactly why you see in today's time, all of these different global leaders and nations are boasting about their nuclear capability. So back again in Jeremiah 50:13, because of the wrath of the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, it should not be inhabited, but it should be wholly desolate. Everyone that goeth by Babylon should be astonished and hiss at all her plagues. And that's because America is going to be known as that new example of what not to do. And by America being forever uninhabited, these other nations in our kingdom to come, which goes into the kingdom of heaven, which is synonymous to the kingdom of Yahushua, they are going to be made aware of the do's and the don'ts of following after that whore, referring to America. Verse 14, so again, back to that article of those North Korean leaders going into the entire continental U.S. is within our range. And let's see what type of range are they referring to. And it says, put yourselves in array against Babylon round about. And that array goes into that military style formation that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is going to set in an orderly arrangement of these different global nations pointing their nuclear missiles toward America. So put yourselves in array against Babylon round about. All ye that bear the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she has sinned against the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. And according to Revelation 18:5, all of America's sins have reached unto heaven, and Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua have remembered her iniquities. So therefore, America is constantly getting reported to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua daily. And now hence biblical prophecies will come into that boiling point. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is working through the minds of these different global leaders to stock up more on their nuclear arsenal. And that's exactly why these different North Korean leaders are talking that talk. As it says in Joel the 3rd chapter, let the weak say, I am strong. So now they feel they can be on that same playing field as America in the means of nuclear capability. Verse 15, shout against her round about. She had given her hand, her foundations are fallen, her walls are thrown down, for it is the vengeance of the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. Take vengeance upon her, as she had done, do unto her. And again, relating back to Revelation the 18th chapter, it goes into about reward her. And again, that's referring to America, even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. And that goes into the hurtful works of the man of sin, Esau Edom, through America, that has totally immoralized the whole world. Which is why it's stated right here through these different North Korean leaders, the imperialist U.S. is the destroyer of peace. Read another sign. Other banners show North Korean people pledging to pulverize the American empire and denouncing Washington, D.C. and President Joe Biden. So that concludes the lesson. The global stage is being set for World War III. And again, remember, the left-hand banking elites, they want this to happen in order to usher in this left-hand NWO. But again, remember, back in Proverbs 21:1, the king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. So ultimately, it's engineered by Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, designed for Esau Edom to fail. And that's because he cannot go past the Lord's bounds. And all of this is about to be transitioned to a righteous NWO instead. So North Korean leaders promise to annihilate the U.S. by end of century. And with that, hopefully you all was edified, you all stay strong, keep pushing forward. Shalom.